Okay, we're live now. Finally, I'm sorry for everybody who is still waiting for us. We're here finally. You understand that this is the different time frames. We have a guest from somewhere from New York and from UK, and I'm in US. But finally, we have that very good connection now. I'm so happy to welcome Segal. I'm sorry, and Beverly. She's from UK, and we're going to talk for something very interesting phenomena. And actually, I believe everybody heard about this phenomena, Skinwalker Ranch, which is located in Utah Basin, and you know that Robert Bigelow purchased that ranch a long time ago for his research, and he was sponsored from CIA maybe or Pentagon or something from the government. He done some research, and he looks like he just quit that ranch because I believe he was scared from all these experiences he has in that area. Then Brandon Fugal, very wealthy man from Utah, he purchased that ranch, and when I'm talking about this with friends, I said this is the new toy for Brandon because he would like to collect stuff. Doesn't matter how much cost. and that time, actually, Dr. Segal, he worked in the Skinwalker Ranch during the Bigelow time, and also with Brandon Fugal.
That's correct, yes.
And Beverly, I invite her especially because she had a message to Skinwalker Ranch almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And because Tom Winterton, who is my friend, he don't want to hear anything about any messages. But now we have that serious friend, Jim Segala, and I believe he will listen what she's going to say. But first, let's start with Dr. Segala.
Oh, sure. So just to give you just a quick history of how I got involved in all this. So after I did my medical research and my medical education and things like that, I went to work for a gentleman by the name of Dr. Hal Puthoff.
Oh,
who is actually, Beverly, you'll appreciate this. He's one of the people that were the pioneers in the remote viewing area.
Yeah, he
and
was.
I worked for him at his institute in Austin for almost 11 years. And I studied under him. I had an internship right out of my postdoc, after my postdoc. So I was able to work with him and be with him while he's doing a lot of this investigation, work on my own investigations, after that in my own scientific research. But it was great working with him because he knows everybody, and he's been involved in a lot of things, and he's not afraid to get out of the norm of science and do things that people just think are not what you'd expect a scientist to do. So, and then also a lot of the things that I worked with Hal on had to do with him being on the science advisory board for a lot of these ranches that are out there, or properties that are out in the United States and other places that have this strange phenomena going on, like Mount Wilson and Skinwalker, and there's a whole bunch of other ones that he did investigations on. So I was always party to those things, and I worked on the research and the data that came in after they had done their gathering and things like that. So that's how I got started this whole thing.
It's good because there's a commonality amongst all of the ranches, particularly with the beings that are there and the oil deposits, because they are underneath the oil deposits. And I think there's a commonality with that because the energies, from what I can see, both from an RV point of view and from the energetic point of view, that seems to be the common golden thread that runs across all of these ranches.
Yeah, if you take all of the anecdotal messages that people give while they're there, you could pick out words and you can get those same words in every single one. It's very interesting.
I agree.
Okay, and how you get involved with Skinwalker?
So when Bob Bigelow owned the property, he, like I said, that Hal was on the science board. and he kind of let Bob understand what the steps would be to do a really good investigation. And he was, they were very close. When Brandon Fugel bought the property, Hal also became his science advisor. In I think it was 2017, I believe it was, there was an incident on the property where one of the workers there got hurt pretty bad.
Yeah.
It was, it was really not a great understanding of whether or not it was during the time or afterwards, but it was something that was significant. And Brandon contacted Hal and said, can you send some scientists up here to investigate this, because I'm worried about people being on the ranch and further injuries and things like that. So myself and a gentleman by the name of Dr. Kit Green, I don't know if you've heard of
Kit. Yeah, that was brain swelling, wasn't it? But when you look at sort of the energetics around brain swelling, and particularly when you have multiple contacts with beings and individuals, there is always a degree of risk, and there is always a degree of swelling that takes place because we are organic matter. And of course, we are a very high percentage of water. And due to that, the body does begin to swell, particularly around your eyes and around your brain, because it is surrounded by water. And I'm not surprised that happened. We had similar situations in South Africa when we had direct contact. So, I would say that, they're going to have to look at how they are treating that level of risk, and perhaps learn from those of us that have already been working in the field and utilize some of the risk strategies and assurance mitigations that we've put in place to make sure that everyone that's working is as protected as possible.
So have you ever investigated some of these injuries? Have you ever actually gone into looked at some of the medical data?
I didn't have a look at the medical data. I haven't been party to any of that. My other half is a clinician, so we would be able to wade our way through it. Plus, I've got 20 years plus in the National Health Service in the UK, NHS.
That's great.
So, I'm covering all sorts of things. So I think we've got a really good network in the UK. So we would be able to wade our way through any of the clinical information quite easily. Obviously, as long as the rules of data sharing around client privilege and patient privilege are maintained.
So one of the interesting things, and I think you're going to appreciate this, that there was, when we actually got to the point where we were boots on the ground investigating this, we were right at the end of this whole injury. The person was just coming out of it, but we had access to all of the medical, all the blood cultures, everything. And it turned out that there was a lot of white cells being brought to the site to clean up. That means that the body sensed that there was something wrong, that something entered the body. White cells don't go someplace unless there's something to clean up. I mean, so that's just what it does. So there was obviously something happened. And that really sends a message to everybody, right? I mean, it's like, this stuff is not just made up in your head. This stuff is real.
Absolutely.
And it's coming through the air and it's entering your body. Your body's interpreting it, your brain's interpreting it and doing what it's doing. But these are physical things that are happening. Yeah.
And it does compromise the immune system. And that is something that we've known for like 35, 40 years already. Yeah. And you can utilize that to your benefit. If you know how that is being utilized across the physical body, you could actually utilize the areas that they're working on as a suppressant if necessary. So it goes two ways. One is a catastrophic issue where the immune system is compromised, but then on the other side of the coin, it's where it's building up the white blood cells to make sure that it's healing whatever's necessary. So it's a two-way street.
That's actually very interesting. So your body's actually building immunities to this, right? And that's kind of what it's doing. But we had an interesting occurrence that was when I was on the ranch doing investigation. So I was there for like 3 years doing on and off, just doing research. There was actually an incident where a cow passed away. And we had a vet come and we had a necropsy done the full necropsy. And the vet said that so it was what he found was acute case of pneumonia. And it was a very healthy cow, a very early age. And he said the only way this can happen is that the immune system was significantly compromised. Very, very quickly. And, because we all have pneumonia in our bodies. So it's constant. When our immune system gets compromised, that's when pneumonia takes over and starts doing it.
Mm.
So within 3 days, with a healthy cow running around doing its thing, something happened, and it was kind of weird because all the cattle had stampeded the day before, and it was like this. They all got scared of something, but this particular cow must have been just in the right spot or whatever, and to have its immune system just completely attacked, and he got pneumonia and died.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I mean, you are 100% correct, and that's exactly what happens.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it is. And I think, when I'm looking at the energy fields and the EM levels, when you go through an EM level that's particularly high, that's detrimental to the system of the body, it ends up where it ricochets. And that's the term that we've been using, is that it ricochets back in on itself. So it collapses inwards, which then would stop the bleeding, but it would then cause an inward facilitation. So if you had to look at it under the microscope, you'd almost see that the white blood cells would be attacking, but they wouldn't know what they'd be attacking, and sometimes even attack themselves.
Well, that's very interesting. You're actually saying that, because one of the current researches that we're doing is autoimmune connected to experiencing and remote viewing. So Dr. Green and I have been working on this, and do you know Colin Kelleher? He's a Colin is another scientist that have been working on this. Yeah. They feel that there's a tight connection between autoimmune, which is exactly what you just said, and also and experiencing and having this ability and sensing these things.
It's actually all the modalities, and that's where the issue comes in. The issue comes in where the immune system is placed into fight or flight, and depending on which of the modalities are utilized at the time, if it's just a UFO one, or if it's RV, or if it's out-of-body experiences, that level is different, and it will then depend on the level of strength where it attacks the immune system.
I have a question for both of you. I mean, my information about Skinwalker is coming from History Channel. Okay. I don't know what is just a game or what is the real, because for me it looks like a Jurassic Park. Looking for monsters, and where's the monster? Why cow die? There's a huge level of radioactivity. That's why cows die, and whatever. So Tom Winterton said that when they start digging in the ground, something happened bad. Mm-hmm. So what caused that to happen? Why? If somebody starts digging, something happened. Why?
Beverly, if you want to talk about that a little, I have something to say when you're.
Well, I can only go from the areas that I have experience in, and I'm not a scientist. And what I find with the level of EM activity and possibly other types of energies or chemicals that are released out of the ground, we've got to remember that is an area of high strangeness, and that entire area is covered in different types of energetic fields which do different things. So it would compromise humans, it would compromise animals, but it could actually be picked up, not necessarily by scientific equipment, because some of the equipment doesn't always pick it up, but by individuals that are trained, that are sensitive enough to not only know how to protect themselves, but actually read the energetic values around them. And I do know that can cause a lot of problems, but I do think that it's not insurmountable, and that the risk is not that high as long as it's treated in the right way.
So, and to just kind of take a little further than that. So this incident that happened on the ranch, yes, it was done when there was digging going on. But what happened is that the person that was doing the digging was giving a very abrupt, loud instruction to stop digging. Oh. And when that was ignored, that's when the injury occurred. It's not, in my opinion, it didn't recur because they were digging. It was because they were told stop digging. And then when it was like ignored, and this was over several periods, this was not just one incident. So, and then that's when it started. If you go through the histology of all of that, how it happened, when it happened, all of those things, it was like, I was told to stop. I started seeing vision, had a really tough night, had a personality change. All of a sudden and then he got sick right away, right after that.
Yeah,
So
and I agree with you, because that's EMF, and EMF, when you have that get stop, it layers and it layers and it layers
right.
and it layers, and then that EMF bursts, and that's what
Exactly.
would
Right.
cause it. It's a fear response, because that is the second only strongest energy out there, and all the other allies and reptilians and all the other beings that we know of, that's one of the energies that they utilize the most, is the EMF values associated with fear. So I agree with you. It's not necessarily the digging, it's the fact that there's been the pleading and asking to stop, and it was flatly ignored, which meant it just continued to build until it exploded, and that is what caused it.
Yeah, and you can see the progression. It started off getting a little bit paranoid. That fight flight. That whole thing that goes, and your hair stands up on the back of your neck, all that stuff.
Yeah.
He said, towards the end of it, he just was petrified to go outside. So it was a frightening experience for him, and then it did lead to the injury, and then luckily he came out of it.
Pity they didn't have an RV person go in and remove some of
the
EMF stuff.
So just so happens, there's a woman, Kay Randle May. Have you ever heard of Kay Randle May? She's a significant remote viewer, and Kit Green went to her just before this happened, and she laid out the steps. That is exactly how this thing was going to play out well before this thing happened. And she had no idea. And when, of course, I know you do this double blind, where when Kit went to her, he didn't say anything. He didn't say anything what this was. And then she started just rattling off all these things, and he documented, and it was like exactly what happened. So kind of scary, and
it's going to happen again, by the way, just so you know.
Interestingly enough, after the 3 years that I was researching that particular site, I said, wait a minute, this is very interesting that it's happening here, but it can't just happen here. It has to happen all over the place. So I spread out all over the Utah Basin and started looking at other things that are happening out there. And it turns out there's hundreds and hundreds of occurrences and people that have significant injuries, or maybe had significant experiences that all had the same type of thing. It didn't have to happen on Skinwalker Ranch. Because Skinwalker Ranch
could be anywhere.
Yeah, and what I found was that it was more prevalent higher up towards you got to the Uinta. So the basin, the Uinta Basin, is like this big, and it's a basin basically, and then it's ended by a mountain range to the north. The closer, it seems that the closer you get to those, is more prevalence of people being affected by this, and it was just very strange. So exactly what I did is that I was lucky enough to know some people in the Native American cultures and things like that, and they're amazing when you talk about amazing experiencers. Anyway. I was able to put equipment in their houses and on their person that allowed me to monitor the fields in their local environments, and also at the same time gather data from them on a daily basis of what experience have you had? Did you get that taste in your mouth? The metallic taste. Did you get the earaches? Did you get tinnitus? All the daily basis, and from then I compiled a significant amount of data that shows that. There's really some very interesting things happening, and you can't discount it statistically. You can't say it's not happening. So this is,
and I think you're so blessed to be able to have access. I've only done a short periods of work with some of the Indian peoples, mainly through my horses. I used to have Appaloosas and the Nez Perce Indians, and then also paint horses. So we did a lot of work with a couple of the individuals, and they were quite interested to understand how this, very, very white or blonde woman from England was able to understand, where they were coming from, and also then show them some of the things that I'd seen, which they were quite surprised about. So I think the Utah area, what I've seen on it, which it probably ties in with what you've got, is, to me, the basin area has this low level EMF, but then as it starts moving up towards the mountainous regions, it seems to climb. And I've noticed that it's sporadic, but you might find this of interest is the individuals that are Rh negative blood group seem to experience a much higher level of EM, and also are able to involve themselves in remote viewing a lot easier, which was an anomaly that I don't know whether you've had a look at that, but that is something that appears to be very common in all the research that I've been.
That's interesting. So I know that Gary Nolan, do you know Dr. Gary Nolan? He's a guy from Stanford. Anyway, he does a lot of work with Dr. Green. And one of his things is that, are people predestined to be good remote viewers or good experiencers because of something in their DNA, something that's carried on in their genetics?
Yeah.
And is it possible that the Native Americans also have this? Since that's one of the things that he's researching to find out some commonality between these people. Of course, it's it's very difficult to do because it's very difficult to quantify and to get the right data in the right way. But that's, I think you're 100% correct. There's something that is unique with these people that have these abilities, and that's interesting. Though I know that a lot of the people that do this had some previous either injury or some occurrence in their lives prior to this that then set them on the road. They might have had a significant brain trauma or something like that. The next following steps, all of a sudden they're experiencing all these things. It opens them up. It's almost like, I'm an engineer and a scientist, and all my education, people have given me filters. Everything has to be rational. It's possible that when you go through these situations where you have these injuries or brain trauma, all those filters get washed away or something, and now you're a little bit more, and now you're open.
Yeah, I did, because I suffered brain trauma after I was involved in the 7th of July London bombings. And, unfortunately, when the explosion happened on the train, I hit my head really badly on a pole and knocked myself out. We call it the bang on the bonds. The bang on the head caused a significant schism in my psyche, which then woke up all sorts of other things, which made me far worse than I was before. So I'm far stronger now as an RV remote viewer than I was previously. And, I've got other aspects as well that came about as a direct result of the bang on the head and being unconscious for 12 minutes.
Yeah, that is extremely interesting. So the study that we did and I was very, very fortunate to be joined by a Native American who helped me do this. She's the one that got the people and signed them up and all this other stuff. So, and it's kind of interesting. So we got like 36 total people that maybe 30 were decent, really, really active and things like that. And you would start analyzing these people and recording all these people, and you'd find out one very interesting person. Then you go talk to them, and they would tell you, oh yeah, by the way, 10 years ago, I was in a car accident. It was always something that
catalyst.
Oh, and then there was a couple of them where, you talk to these people, they're, just regular people that are, school teachers or whatever. And you say, what is your heritage? And they say, well, it just so happens that I did that DNA test and I find out I have a little Native American me.
Oh,
so it's all these crazy things that, like, you go down the road, you say, well, these are very similar people, but they find out that they're all traced back to something that happened to them that made them this.
This is the catalyst. Yeah. It's a great cohort. I mean, over 30, gosh, that's an amazing amount when you know how we battle with cohorts of individuals to participate. 30 is a great.
That's a good, it took 3 years though. It took a while. So it didn't.
Well, so if I understand correctly, you've done some kind of research, what is underground with this specific equipment, and you found something like a caves maybe, or kind of like that. Also, you have footage of some unknown flying object during the day and during the sky. I don't know if you've been for all these events over there in the range, but that was report for the History Channel. And my my understanding is that this area, especially with Skinwalker, have some kind of intelligence or mood, because sometimes you can have very high level of radiation or electromagnetic.
I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
That's funny.
Sorry. Just had to say it wasn't me.
So I don't know if I'm right, but something really like intelligent things exist. Maybe in this reality, maybe in the close another reality, or you said something happened from the air. What exactly happening, and why this place is so significant, and not only Skinwalker, but all this area with all this sightings with UFOs or paranormal? Because I spoke with a police officer from Native Americans, and he said that he has his indoor cameras in his home capture shadows and moving stuff. So it's a lot of phenomena in the one place. And I remember when I talked with Ray Hernandez, he said this is actually one phenomenon. There's a lot of stuff, but it's only one thing with different
manifestations. Yeah.
Yeah, right. What do you think about this?
I think that actually is 100% correct. It seems to be, it's almost like if you got like, you're in an ocean, right? And you have all these waves, right? All this energy waves, and you put a little tiny boat in, and the boat keeps bumping around. And, it might be that certain people, maybe the light boat, have different ways of responding to all that energy, and they just pick up all this stuff. Some people don't. Some people just don't have that abilities, or maybe they're getting it. But it seems like people will get in the situation. For instance, I mean, I had a lot of data that I collected. You would have two people that are within a very close proximity, and one person would have an experience that the other person absolutely had no response to whatsoever. So then you say to yourself, it's like, they look up in the air and they would see some, a UFO or something like that. And they say, "Did you see that?" And he said, "No, I don't. I didn't see it." So it could be possible that whatever it is projecting into them. It's actually manifesting within their own brains, or however it's doing it, this particular vision that they want them to see. And it's very possible that this energy that they're getting also sometimes gets picked up by cameras. It doesn't mean that it's like, a very vivid, maybe that's why it's so dull sometimes. But because we're seeing injuries, physical changes in our metabolism and, in our physiology, that is physically a signal. It has to be physically a signal in order to do the damage it's doing or have the effects on us. But then how does our brain interpret it? How do cameras interpret that energy? And we don't know. But we have the data. So when people say to me now, it's, I saw an orb go by, it's very possible that they were told to see an orb go by or something like that from some energy, because the equipment that I put in place on these people's houses, when they make those determinations, they say that stuff, you can see very slight variations in the environmental signals that I've been monitoring all this time. So it's not that they're making it up, but, obviously, if there was an orb flying through, other people would see it. If they're just seeing it, then it's a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah, you always have a control. There's always going to be a baseline of an individual that's a control. In my experience, when I've done an energetic check and had a look back to the blood work again and having a look at the DNA, and the structures of the DNA are slightly different for those that are baseline, that actually don't see anything, don't connect with anything, and are not able to process that energetic value, they don't see it, is different to those that have a different set of DNA markers and are perhaps AB negative or AB with a different type of slant, with more of their DNA energized than those that are not. And that then allows certain individuals to see more and act not as a beacon, but almost become magnetized, where there's more
Sure.
energy that becomes more obvious to those individuals. So it's like, you know, the good old copper rod theory that if there's lightning around, it's going to find a copper rod for
It's
sure.
going to find the copper rod.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of, I'm not a scientist, and that's sort of as far as my theory goes.
Well, Beverly, I've been working on this like thought, and it, not because, you know, I didn't invent it, but it just came out of the data. Is it possible that if you have, say, 2 or 3 people standing together, and one of the person is a high experiencer, that their energy bleeds off to the other people?
Yes.
Because let me tell you why. It's very interesting. So I have this watch that besides just stuff that I have in the environment, I give people watches, and the watch is you know, doing the blood pressure, it's doing the heart rate, and it just seems that the person doing the experiencing, their things go up, everything goes up, you know, so they get this anxiety, but the other people are also going up.
Well, they will.
Not as high.
It's
I mean,
infectious.
like 5-10% of what the other one, but they don't really even know anything's going on. It's just very strange that they also feel something, but the other person hasn't reacted yet. So it's not that it's a physical thing, but they might be affected in a small way, or because this main person is bleeding out their whatever that is. Anyway, I just thought that was very,
you're
very
absolutely
interesting.
correct, and it's infectious. I find that if I'm RVing someone, if I'm being given a target to go and change someone's mind or do some work that I've been asked to do to a particular individual, that individual will always, when I start with them, they will always experience a heightened sensitivity. They will always feel scratchy, itchy eyes. They will definitely have either ringing in the ears, or generally it's a high-pitched sound, or there'll be something with tinnitus that ends up in the ears. There will always be something where I've left a mark, so that I know that my mark has actually done whatever it was I was instructed to do. That shows you that part of that energy value is infectious, and that will leave a trail behind.
Sure.
Have you ever tried some of the members of this researcher group for Skinwalker? Have they ever tried to make a contact with this
entity or
consciousness entity?
Some of the people are, well, first of all, the only reason I was able to work with these people is because they're very afraid of this. And this is not something, this is, and the reason, so a lot of the reason that I got involved in this, because they came to me and said, look, you know, this is something I can't live with. I'm having a trouble. They go into, sometimes it's so bad, they go into a catatonic state. So they were afraid to leave the house, you go in the car and drive on the road and stuff like that. So that's when I kind of prompted to help these people. So them to take the step to try to talk to it and try to rationalize with it, really, it only happened towards the end. And it was only happened very specific people. Like, for instance, there was one individual that was a very good experiencer, and a lot of really good data, would sit down and actually converse with a Native American chieftain from 1,000 years ago. I mean, and she would sit there and take notes in a language that it's been antiquated for years and years and years. And she would actually like take that through. She would sit down, she would transcribe what the person's, what the chief is saying, bring it to somebody, because she had no idea what it said. So absolutely. I mean, they tried to do this because everybody tries to make this part of their everyday life, because this is, it was very, very scary. They're starting to say, okay, wait a minute. It's not as scary as it is. And people adapt, right? I mean, we by our very natures, we adapt to things. So
I think it's about the vibration of the consciousness, and also the fear is one of the huge obstacle to go in and to make contact with that thing, because probably they're not danger, but because we have a fear, or people who is there, they have a fear, they'll kill me, and basically Tom got this injury that is, I mean, solid evidence. Don't do that. I have two friends Jim, I think you know them, and I'm okay to share the names. Michelle Miners, she's very good of my friends.
Sure, I know Michelle really well.
And George Peace. I think they've been there during the Bigelow era, or maybe with Brandon. I'm not very sure with this, but George says that they've been something like a cave, and then he in the cave.
Okay.
And George told me, and we've been in the cave probably with Michelle. They've been in the cave, and he started hearing kids playing around, probably on the top of the cave or maybe around the cave. And he said when they go out, actually there was nothing like that. So maybe in that time, his consciousness and that with the Michelle make that connection with this another world, which is like parallel reality or another dimension, but they catch that thing. And no fear, just people was excited by that experience.
Well, as they're children playing, I mean, there's nothing fearful around children playing. But when we go back to the cave particularly, and we go back to the photograph of the ant being that lives within, well, way underneath the Skinwalker Ranch and the other ranches in the area, it is probable that part of the clairaudience, so when you're able to pick up the sounds of the other civilizations that inhabit our earth, it is possible that the two individuals were able to hear the children playing of the ant people that live beneath the surface of the earth, underneath where the oil areas are. They're even deeper than that. It is possible that is what they heard.
And now, with Beverly permission, she sent me a picture, and she said that picture never been shown in the world.
No.
And it's about something what happened underground. So with all this expensive equipment Brandon has, researching Skinwalker, Beverly can do that only with crystal and super powerful consciousness. And now I'm going to try to share that picture, and then I'll be very interesting to see what Dr. Segal is going to say about this. And by the way, we have invisible helper from the other side, and also in this side of the world. This is Ref Cat. She's going to managing the questions. So thank you very much for first everybody who enjoying in this podcast. We have watchers from UK, from Germany, from US, and Bulgaria, of course. Okay, let's try to share that.
I will, while you're working out how to share it, I'll let everyone know that it is a normal standard crystal, either a citrine crystal or a quartzite crystal. And those RV energies are channeled directly into the crystal. And then the standard mobile phone is what was used to take these photographs. I know that sounds a bit weird, but that's how it kind of works. I've simplified it. And then originally, I then did a drawing, which I can share with everybody. And this is what he looks like. And I've taken some notes about what I've seen. And then
thank you very actually, can you show your sketch, please?
Mine's a horrible sketch. There it is.
No, it's not horrible.
I'm not good at these things. I'll get someone to do it properly. But this is what he looked like. He's very peaceful, and he and the beings that were with him, were very clear about the message, not just for Skinwalker Ranch, but that entire area of the Wilson farm and going all the way up into the reservations and the peoples. And basically, he said, remember, as above, so below, and remember that we are way advanced. And if we want to be seen, we will be seen. But you're not at a position yet where we trust the individuals enough to be able to be shown. But we are there. So I think there's a lot in the message.
Okay, I'll try one more time to
Try one more time.
share screen, right? Okay.
That's it.
Share
Present.
screen, present at the bottom. You're too clever, Jim. I would be happy to work with you on anything. So if you want some help,
present and then share screen. Okay. Then, don't show this again. Share screen. How to go to
Windows. I think in the middle tab you can pick a particular window or a particular screen.
Yeah, it's not the reptilian one, it's the ant one, the one that's got the big eyes. Oh, look, something's happening. There we go.
Okay, now where is my download things, videos?
There are two others as well. The other one is one of the reptilian races that have left one of the crafts on the mesa, or on one of the mounds. Part of their craft was left in the mesa. That was that one. And then the other one is a mountain being that the Indian individuals, particularly the elders and the shaman, will know that picture, that photograph, because they know the mountain energies and the beings. There's those three that I sent through.
Oh, maybe here.
Beverly, you can share your screen.
I don't have it on this one. I've got it on my phone, which is not.
That's not good. Yeah.
I know.
Okay, so it will be very difficult for me to do this. Okay. Now, how to?
We're not touching, you see. Is there anything particular, Jim, that you would feel that I could help, or that we could help with, to try to smooth the way with various things? Or, I think if we could use 16.1 gigs, because that is the common area to contact those individuals.
Okay, I will try to show from my phone.
Yes, there it is.
There you go. You got to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
Your screensaver.
There he is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the other picture is more interesting because you can see much clearer the face.
I mean, if you want to send that to me, I can share it. You just send it to my Gmail and I can share it.
I'm going to send it right
you
now.
know how to do these things.
Yeah. That'd be great if I could do it.
I think the best contact was utilizing sound waves and music, because that's either that or mathematics, one of the two. But I think sound waves on 16.1 gigs will work.
Interesting.
I don't know whether you've tried that before.
No, we're more in the microwave area, so lower frequencies. Looking at things that are, like the millimeter waves, bigger waves and things like that. I never tried 16. How did you come up with 16 gigahertz?
Well, because that's what we used in South Africa when we had an individual that stayed with us for 6 months. Okay. And he had to go home, and we had a couple of individuals that were radio hams, and we were able to get a message, and we said that he needed to go home. So we went down to Zinkwazi Beach, which is a huge beach in South Africa, in Natal. And we were told when they would come to collect him. So we took him down to the beach, and a small group of individuals, about 50 people, we went down to the beach to say goodbye.
Okay, I've sent you 3 pictures now in your Gmail.
Oh, good.
Perfect.
There we go. Someone that knows the technology.
Yes, funny.
Always helpful.
All right, so I'm gonna download them real quick so I can do this quickly.
And everybody who is watching right now, if you have any questions, you can ask in English or Bulgarian or Russian, and I'll try to translate to English. don't be afraid to ask questions.
I don't actually bite, which is a surprise. Most people think
Yeah.
I do.
You're in the safe place, and Skinwalker is not following you. I promise you.
No, they won't be.
All right, so that's one of the pictures.
Okay, I'm adding in the stage.
Oh, look at you. Okay,
Yep.
now that one is a reptilian. That is a reptilian, and that is the mountain being energy, ancient being, and that one is the ant person.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the first one, and then I'll do it slowly. So there's that's the first one.
The reptilian, yeah, that's the one who had said that the craft within the mesa, the remains of the craft in the mesa, that is part of their craft. It's unlikely they will be returning to collect it because they don't need it. So it's just that was the message on there, but it's very obvious that he's reptilian. He's one
So
of the
Beverly, this is super. So how did you take this picture? This is amazing.
This is taken. I think this one was with a citrine quartz, but it was taken through one of the ladies that I collaborate with, which is Casey Clara, and she has a channel where she publishes everything that she gets through the crystal. We've both been doing similar work, and it's channeling work where the RV energies and images are placed energetically into the crystal. And then you take the normal bog standard iPhone, and you just take the iPhone and then have a look to see what you've got.
That is so intriguing.
When I
this one has a little color to it.
Excuse me. When I heard about reptilians, and I all the time it's negative experience with the people who had face-to-face with reptilians. And Bev, you said that this reptilian is cool.
He's fine. There are draconians, there's royals, there's others, but there's over 67 reptilian races. And just because they're reptilian, it doesn't mean to say that they would prefer to see the demise of the Lulus, which is what they call us. Humans are called Lulus.
I'm asking.
The Lulu race.
I'm asking this because Bulgarians is more involved. They want to know more about reptilians, and everything they're talking about reptilians something very bad. That's what I'm asking.
Not all of them. There are a lot of them. Yes, the great whites. The great whites are not particularly nice. There are others that are not too good. We've got about 70, 80 photographs of them as well, so we can share those if you want. But they're not all bad. You know, just as much as you get every race of beings on this planet, you know, all humans have got those that would, you know, are warlike, and those that are not, that are peaceful. They have exactly the same structure as
this one's amazing. I mean, that is definitely.
That's the one that I tried in my dodgy sketch. But you can see he's got his little eyes, and you can see the area at the top here. He's got his little antenna, and I wrote quite a few notes about him. You know, he tends to utilize blue and silver orbs a lot. He's got yellow eyes and claw type feet. So Y-shaped, like a Y-shaped feet. And there's a lot of magnetization of the earth when this particular ant race comes around. So there's a lot of similarities between what we know about them when we're channeling them and we see them to some of the information. I'm not sure whether that's something that Skinwalker Ranch has seen or the Wilson Ranch has seen, but that is common when these types of apparitions or sightings happen.
Something came to my mind about this image and the other images. We see that they're not super clear, and they are. But because of my opinion, this images is from another dimension, and with different vibrations. So if we have, if we're much more closer to them vibration, probably the picture will be much more clear then.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, when I saw him directly, I mean, he was like nearly 7 foot. He was very tall and absolutely clear. So not just a head and shoulders, which is all you're going to get in the crystal. I mean, the crystal that I have is is only about so big and so high. Casey's crystal, she's got a number of crystals that she uses, including citrine and quartzite. But quartzite is particularly good for being able to produce the images and take a photograph of.
For the viewers, I want to say that is not a science fiction conversation. We're talking for very serious, real things, which you cannot see or talk about this usually in YouTube, because or internet is full with foolishness. But that is very real, very real.
And that's why we wanted to share the message that the little individual had to say, because it's key for him to get this across, you know. Also, I think there are, with him, he has a lot of opportunistic holes in the ground. I don't know whether something like that happens on Skinwalker Ranch, where these holes just appear,
like sinkholes.
Yeah,
they do, definitely.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, sinkholes, because there's a lot of underground water. Like significant amount of underground water.
Okay. Are they round? Very round? Because if they're round and magnetized, it's what they call an access area. And that's what the little ant people, well, they're not little, they're over 6 foot. But yeah, they do provide access to the surface.
So do you, are you familiar with a ranch that's close by to Skinwalker called Blind Frog Ranch?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of it. I've heard of that in Wilson.
Okay.
And that follows the same line. They would also have similar encounters, because
very similar.
Yeah, they should do, because the beings all live beneath the surface. Pretty much, if I had to draw a line, it would be all the way up through Utah into other areas, because they are follow where the oil straits are. Underneath that, they're really deep within the bowels of the earth, but that is where they live.
So the Blind Frog Ranch people I'm very familiar with, and we work with them. So they're higher up towards the mountain area, a little bit higher, much higher than Skinwalker. But also, Skinwalker Ranch, the owners of Skinwalker Ranch don't have mineral rights, so they can't dig very deep. They can only dig maybe 20 feet. But the guys, the people that own Blind Frog, they own everything. So they go deep. So there's been a lot of information that they've gathered because they've gone that deep.
That's good.
Yep, I'm going to stop sharing. So we'll get back.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, and I think that the mountain one, the picture of the mountain being, if you speak to the indigenous folks there and the Indian people that live in that region, I guarantee you that they will say, "Yeah, I know, I've seen that being," and that will just give you some credence.
So, Beverly, what is the message to Skinwalker? Basically, what is it?
I think what is important for them particularly was that they've got to start understanding that they are far more advanced, and that they've been keeping out of the way. When they start evaluating their spiritual side and their energy, and they bring science and spirituality together as one, that's when they're going to find a lot more answers. And particularly where Brandon is looking for off-world answers, they will be there, but they will need an interpreter. They will need somebody that understands the energy, not from a scientific point of view, but how to absorb that energy and channel that energy in order to be able to say what needs to be said to the current owners.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure yet whether that's something that's going to make good viewing, but it certainly would make a difference to a lot of people.
Well, ironically, part of the reason that the majority of the reason that I got away from the area or the Skinwalker Ranch is because exactly that their whole psyche as far as investigating this felt that if they just applied science, they would get all the answers. Bob Bigelow did that. If you apply science, you get all the answers. When I started working outside there, I actually started working with Michelle Miners. And together, she was the spiritual side and I was the science side. So we then attacked the problem from both sides. Exactly. It's ironic. Exactly what you just said. So she said, you know, I understand that there's a lot of going on in the environment spiritually. And I said, okay, there's a lot going on in the scientific sense. So that's when we started to really get some really good data when we put our heads together and started doing this. So she was very instrumental in all this data. And we are now, you know, working up more north with the blind frog people up, you know, and getting much better results than they ever got down at Skinwalker. You know, Skinwalker Ranch, they want to make a drama. They want to, or actually they want to make a reality show. I mean, that's kind of what they do. So everything is bang, you know, bang and, you know, send up rockets, do all that kind of stuff. But I think they missed the point that the phenomena, whatever it is, interacts with people. They don't interact with the property. The people actually create the, they might be, the people go on there and they might be amplifying what's there. And then you start seeing things. But I think they missed the point that it's not about, it's about the people.
It is.
It just happened to be.
It's our energy bodies and it's all our levels of our auras. And that is what they're connecting with. And if we can try to get that message across, use the correct gigahertz, it's like EVP, you know, electronic voice phenomena. You will be able to pick that up on electronic voice because they do talk to us.
Yeah.
It's absolutely clear. But we just need to start using our energy bodies and the water inside our energy bodies because that's key, because it's something that they don't have. And we would then be able to find a commonality between the beings and the species. So when we stop thinking like individuals and start thinking as a species, I think then we're going to have a breakthrough.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. 100% correct. And, you know, to further that, it's very interesting. When you get one or two people, everything is anecdotal. It's like you tell a little story and it goes away there. But when you get 30 or, you know, now I'm trying to get hundreds of people, then you're going to start hearing one big voice and you start a lot of commonality and a lot of things, you know. So one of the things that I started doing is picking up local social messaging from people, because people they have messaging all over the place. I mean, with Facebook and all this stuff, but you can pick up so much cool data out of the things that they're saying and really pull that apart. And that's really good data. And you can understand what's going on. And they can see, like, you have all these experiencers out there that don't even know they're experiencers, but they're going to bleed out little things that they're feeling in their social messages.
And a few words for Blind Frog Ranch. I know that you also is a part of this project, or your project about Blind Frog Ranch. Was maybe 2 or 3 years ago, me, Michelle, and George Peace, and a few more other guys, we went there. We've been invited. And one of the specific places, we've been in the tour, but one of the, I think was the last part of the tour, everybody starts spreading, watching, browsing around. It's beautiful. And for some reason, I watch in the north. It's nice view. And then I suddenly saw how the air started vibrating. And then I said, what is vibrating, the earth or the air? And, or maybe it's earthquake. That the first thing come to my mind. And then I said, Michelle, come here. She was just 20 feet away. She came and I said, look in this way and tell me what you see. And she said, wow, something is vibrating. So both of us, we saw the same thing. And then there was another Native American man. He came and he started watching in that area and he saw exactly the same thing. And I mentioned to you, Beverly, I think, about this, what we saw. And you say that if I'm correct, if I remember correctly, you say that happening just before when the UFO start materializing in our world.
It's the dematerialization. It takes 3 days. You know, it takes 3 days, and unfortunately, the electromagnetic fields do change, and the vibration starts, as you say, it's almost like the air starts to vibrate. And I think that we could use that to initiate human contact if there was enough of us on the Frog Ranch, because I think that they might be more open to this type of experimentation.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Segal, what do you think? What was that vibration?
Well, I can't tell you what the vibration was because I wasn't there. But however, again, we did a 3-year study. We had people every day write down things. If you looked at all of the things entered and you looked at all the words used more often than not, it was vibration.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many people relate this to vibration. I'm laying in bed and all of a sudden I felt this vibration of energy and I got this message. Or, driving my car and I felt, it's like all of these anecdotal things. It's like a lot of that word is used continuously.
Yeah.
It can't be a coincidence.
True.
But only that vibration was in north side, not the other sides. Only
It's...
Well, if they're up in the stratosphere, yeah. And again, I'll go back to the fact that because we are a large percentage of water in our bodies as humans, where there's a vibration, the vibration as it hits the water in our bodies, it conducts and moves, and we'll feel our stomach starts shaking, and we'll start feeling it. So I'm not surprised that there was the vibration, but generally we found through Africa, when I was going through Africa and going to various key sites where, there's like a corridor there where, it's quite common to see them anyway, where the UFOs materialize and dematerialize, which is how I know that it takes 3 days because I timed it. And that was it. My stomach started vibrating, and everybody else on the team, their stomach started vibrating too. So we kind of know how the phenomena will react to the human body. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that the blind frog ranch would probably have the same sort of situation happening.
So do you actually get a better experience with contact or remotely? I mean, just completely. If you were touching the matter that was involved in this, do you get a better experience?
Oh, a far better experience. I get what we call, well, Casey and I have kind of coined a term. We call it a download, which sounds crazy.
It's like
we're not techie.
That's funny.
We're not techie. Yeah, well, we didn't, we just
that's a good word. I like that. Yeah.
So it's a download, and it just comes, and it attaches to the water in the body first, and then it just comes through thick and fast. And then I've just got to, do my silly little sketches and write everything up as quickly as I can and fill endless books that are in my loft that are being transcribed at the moment. But yeah, as long as I have a really good connection, the download is significant.
That's interesting.
We're still waiting for questions. Maybe everything, probably people, the viewers, they know everything and they don't have questions. They understand everything perfectly. Just a few more minutes. We're going to wait for questions and then we'll close that podcast. Just I want to say a few things about Beverly. We know each other for 3 years or something, or 4. She was a part of one case in Bulgaria. We had a young boy, 11 or 12 years, I forgot the age, autistic boy, and he was kidnapped. Yeah. And Beverly was able to, we work with the police department who searched for this boy, but Beverly was something like the person who was 100% described the address of the house where the boy was kept with a lot of details. She saw, she feel the smell, she see the sounds around the boy. So that's just amazing. And the police officers, they, because we're in direct contact with them at the same time, and they confirm, they said, yes, this is the street. And the number of the house in the street is exactly like that. And finally, after 1 week or, yeah, I think 1 week.
9 days.
When he is missing, finally, with Beverly's help and another man from Canada, Martin. Martin, he also is very good remote viewer. With both of them, the boy was saved.
Yeah.
So
Alive.
I'm very impressed with Beverly's skills and everything she's doing. She's super cool and kind and helpful. I trust her a lot. Let me see if there are any questions. Oh, there's a questions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we have question from Emilia, and she asking, sorry, I was not able to join the stream from the beginning. I'm interested in RV, but never experienced it. The images you showed us are unique. I have never heard pictures taken by quartz crystals. EVP phenomena is also very interesting. Thank you for sharing this information with us.
It's a pleasure.
If you want to say the final words, Dr. Segala, and then Beverly, and we're going to close that.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you guys coming along. I just want to let everybody know that I have a couple months ago, a lot of people were asking me, but I put all the research that I put, all the data, I put it on a website so people can access it. And I actually put it in our chat if you guys want to actually put that, show that to people. And it's all open. You can use it. You can read it. It's all basically what Michelle and I did for 3 years in Utah Basin.
Oh, fantastic. Is that experience-studies.com?
Yes.
Ah,
yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, I think that is absolutely awesome. Yeah, I just also want to say thank you, Ivan, for such kind words, and and everything that you've said. But obviously, the focus for us at all times was to make sure we brought the child home safely. So I'm pleased that you recognized what we were all collectively able to do. And Jim, it's been absolutely wonderful being able to share and as colleagues being able to look at what I think and what you think, and even though we're from two totally different sides of the track, that it seems like it's very similar. So I would certainly be honored to work with you in any way you would like in the future.
Thank you very much to have you, both of you. You're amazing. You're awesome. And the last announcement before to close this review, I'm trying to set an international UFO conference in Bulgaria, Sofia. That will be 4th to 6th of October 2024. And you can get more information with the website, UFOdisclosurebulgaria.com. We're still looking for sponsors, so everybody is very welcome to share your money with us, and I promise you'll be surprised with our guests. So thank you very much again for watching us, to be with us, and I hope we can keep in touch for the future. Have a wonderful. Oh, and one more thing, Kat asked me to say the final words. Okay. So whatever it's beings from inner earth, outer space, or other dimensions, we're not alone. We have never been alone. Okay, bye to everybody. Thank you very
everyone.
much.
Thanks, Kat.
Everyone.